All right, we're live. Go ahead.
We're live. Wow. All right. Well, hey, happy holidays, everybody. Welcome back to your TFFL webcast. It is packed bowl week. It is Christmas week. It's New Year's week. It is packed bowl week. Hey, Wednesday, December 29th, 2021. Remember, in previous years, I think almost always the packed bowl kind of happened either sometimes on Christmas or certainly, leading up to Christmas. Remember, we are now dealing with the longest NFL season ever, the longest TFFL season ever. We're now pushing close to New Year's. In fact, the TFFL Packed Bowl will not be settled until 2022. So that's where we are in life right now. Amsterdam Packers versus the Sponge Fishermen for the 2021 Packed Bowl. Here to talk about it this week. Starting with our commissioner, Lizards King and Ruler, Rich, coming to us from dark West Palm Beach.
Yep, I'm in West Palm Beach, Florida. Came up from Key West about 3 days ago, and we're here tomorrow, and then we'll fly home tomorrow night to spend New Year's at home. Nice. It's been a good week, and congratulations to the two Pack Bowl folks, the Amsterdam Packers and the Sponge. It's been a fun 2 years. I don't know if this is our last webcast. Is this our last webcast, or we can do one after Pack Bowl?
We will keep doing plenty of webcasts. The question is,
I look forward to more webcasts. Okay,
when does your commissionership end?
Yeah. That's a good question. I guess
we do one post Pack Bowl, I think.
Okay, good. So I'm not going to sign off quite yet, but we were just commenting that my commissionership has been very interesting in terms of it has been completely in COVID, and it's been both presented challenges and opportunities. And the challenges, I think everyone's familiar with, from rule changes to COVID picks to doing great during the regular season, then all of a sudden it ramping up just in the last few weeks here. But it also served as an opportunity for me to be commissioner over the last 2 years, which has been awesome, in a spot where I didn't have to travel. Made it easy for me to be on all the webcasts. It allowed me extra time that I wasn't traveling to and from work or around the globe from that standpoint. And I loved it in terms of my ability to commit to trying to be the best commissioner I could for the best football league in the world, fantasy football league in the world.
We'll talk more about.
Cheers
to you, Rich. You've done a great job. We'll talk more about your commissionership. Yeah, in a webcast after the Pack Bowl. You're not quite off the hook, but I guess kind of after the Pack Bowl and maybe after one more webcast, there's not much left to do, and we'll move on to the next commissioner, whoever that might be.
It's you, man.
Yeah, didn't we already decide this? Isn't this?
I think we already decided that at the draft.
Yeah. So next webcast we can have a formal transition.
Yeah.
Yes.
We may need a new webcast host though while I'm commissioner. How about that?
Anyway, there you go. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll pick up that part.
All right. Lots to talk about, but let's focus this week on the Pack Bowl. Hank, our IT director, Czar, and CEO of the K-Wheels, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here. Sure.
Our collective condolences, of course, to the K-Wheels.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. Right. Condole away and, shove your head up your ass.
High command from Jack's Giant Killers, Berto.
Stick, good to be here.
New art.
This is so that
I noticed
other way.
This is that's my dog Rosie that my daughter Sasha painted.
Your daughter painted that?
Yes. She's
wow.
She's a really good,
well done.
Really good artist.
Wow.
I really like it.
Yeah, it's impressive.
But this is also a good time for me to comment on one thing that I wanted to, and rewatching last week's webcast when I was not here. The disparity of the heads on screen is truly shocking. It's Stick's head like giant up close, and then it's like Berto at half screen, like down here. And you got more desk than anything. And it's like the dichotomy is hysterical.
Well, I don't know. What do you guys? Because I have this Logitech camera thing.
Yeah,
I'm sitting on top of a monitor.
I use my Mac built-in camera on my laptop.
Gotcha.
I can move it up
Same
and down.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same here. I use the Mac.
So that's why I'm further away. Got it.
Mhm.
Stick?
There you go.
I could be
Your
further
camera
away.
or your laptop camera?
No, I've got who doesn't have a built-in camera anymore? Oh,
Berto.
you. Berto.
He has an
Well,
accessory.
I
a camera
bought
accessory.
I bought this thing a while ago specifically for Webcast, but it's come in handy for working from home a lot. So
For Zoom meetings.
Yeah. All right. That was your only comment on the webcast?
I didn't really get that.
Oh no,
far
we
into
have
it,
much more.
Oh, good. Yeah, Berkman. Yeah, I self-corrected on the Lizards. All right. Well, let's shift to the commissioner report here real quick. There is kind of a trivia segment coming up in a second. Don't worry. But Rich, not kind of a 2-year wrap up, but what key instructions do we need to know heading into Pac Bowl week? You mentioned neither one of these teams has free agent picks left.
That's right. I got the report out before the webcast. See, being
Well
on
done.
vacation is a good thing.
Yep.
And so, yes, the only things of note for the Pac Bowl is that there are no bonus points for anyone. There's no home field advantage points, and that all priority picks and FA picks have been expended at this point. So there will be no picks for FA or priority picks for either team. There were no COVID picks really throughout the playoffs made, if I'm not mistaken. I think there were, with the need to expend your bench first, people had ample depth. So that was that. But there were a few free agent picks that were made. Those free agent picks will return to the pool post the playoffs being done here. So that is that. And I think that's really all that we have to remark. I think the lineups look like they've been updated. The site is updated. And the two teams vying for the coveted Pac Bowl are set to go. So all that's left to do is discuss what's going on. If the only other thing to mention is if COVID picks are necessary, I will be watching from Thursday through Monday. And we'll be happy to make those adjustments as needed should it occur.
Ordinarily, early in a webcast, I would turn to Hank for TFFL standings. We don't need those so much,
Nope.
But maybe either Hank or Rich, can you give us the updated draft order now with 10 spots settled?
I sure can.
But I don't have it at hand this second. I have to get it.
I have it.
I think it's in the commissioner.
Go ahead. Do it.
It is in the commissioner report if you'd like to read that, Hank. Otherwise,
go ahead.
I'm happy to do it if you don't have it. So the Senators have the number. Yeah. The Senators have the overall number 1 pick. The Dirt Devils come in at number 2. Mongols 3. Aliens 4. Hams are 5. Jack's Giant Killers at 6. Beavers at 7. Lizards at 8. Fats at 9. K-Wheels at 10. And what's left to be determined are the Pac Bowl champion will end up with the last pick, and the loser will end up in the 11th spot.
Yes. Sorry, I managed to pull it up right as you were finishing that list. Nice.
There you go. Did I get it accurate?
Yes, you did. Yeah. 10th pick. Yeah.
10th pick. Boba Fett's, we'll talk about that game, both of those games in just a second, but the Boba Fett's, riding a 9-game winning streak into the playoffs. Very strong team, some great young pieces. They're going to be drafting 9th. All right. Let me try to give you a trivia question I have hastily pulled together here. Why don't all three of you and anybody at home playing along go take a look at the matchup this week, the Pac Bowl matchup between the Sponge and the Ampac.
Okay.
We'll be talking about this game, obviously, talking about these two teams. I want to focus on the Sponge Fishermen. They're the favorites in this game, and their lineup is kind of easy to focus on. The 7 position players they've got in their lineup are their core guys. Probably their 7 keepers heading into 2022. Yep. Take a look at those guys right now, because I'm going to ask you to put away the visual aid here in just a second. You know who their core players are. All right? Put that away. Here's the question. How many of those 7, let's just call them their keepers, their 7 core players on the Sponge Fishermen, how many of those were drafted by the Sponge Fishermen?
Good question.
Okay.
Good question.
If you can just guess the correct number, I'll give you 2 points. I'll give you an additional point for naming the players that fall in that group. And I will give you another 2 points each if you can tell me the round in which those players were drafted. Does that make sense?
So say that again. So the round they were drafted, who they are, and the number.
The number. How many of the 7 core players on the Sponge? We know he has been a very active trader, willing to give up a lot of draft picks. How many of those 7 core guys did he actually draft?
Who were they in what round?
Who were they? What round?
Got it.
Okay.
Of the core 7.
Yep.
All right.
There's an 8th guy. If you do look, go back and look at the Sponge lineup. Julio Jones not in there. Another guy who the Sponge gave up draft capital for. He has done, as we've talked about, a lot of trading, given up a lot of high draft picks. But
we weren't talking about their bench, right? We're just talking.
I'm talking about the quarterback, 3 running backs, and 3 receivers in his starting lineup. I hope that makes some sense. All right, we'll come back with the answer shortly. Let's talk quickly. Let's look back to week 16 to round 2 of our playoffs. Hank, I'm sorry, the Amsterdam Packers beating the K-Wheels. The Sponge Fishermen beating the Boba Fats. Let's not spend a lot of time here, but in the case of the Sponge Fishermen, let's start there. Let's acknowledge 105.5 total points. Obviously, 103 of those scored during game action, 2.5 home field advantage points. Another big week for the Sponge. They are playing very well. The Fats, 66 points. Was not a bad week, but was not a great week, and the Sponge had a great week, and the kind of week that moves you on to the Pac Bowl. Quickly, looking at the Fats, this was a team again that won, I think 9 straight games. You gotta feel like there's a lot of really good young pieces on this team. Rich, obviously the Fats are in our division. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. I think they're probably a playoff contender for many years to come.
It's a strong team, and you just look at it. It's hard to swallow, whether it's Hank's team or my team or Fats's team. I mean, I felt the same way as Hank did last week. And the bottom line is these teams are capable of putting 100 points up. And it sucks when you just end up with a bad week. But he suffered from Jonathan Taylor's lack of production and Herbert's lack of production, which carried him quite a bit. No Kelsey didn't help the cause for him. But going forward, he maintains a strong team. He'll add somebody strong. I believe he still has his first round pick next year. I don't think he traded away a lot of big picks, so he'll only get a bit stronger next year. But it's amazing, as we've seen, injuries, health, matchups all play a role. And 66 is, a decent score. It's not like that's a bad score to win you plenty of games over the season, but hard to come up against, I think, a very strong top to bottom lineup in the Sponge last week. But the Fats have plenty to look forward to. 9-game winning streak is nothing to sneeze at. And I think we'll maintain a strong division next year.
I mean, if you look down on their bench, you got guys like Devontae Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Travis Kelce, for what it might be worth, Raheem Mostert on IR, Juju Smith-Schuster on IR. Juju's going to be a free agent in the NFL. He could end up as a number 1 or a strong number 2 receiver somewhere. there's a lot of keeper decisions the Fats are going to have. Let me just throw one quick, interesting one at you all to get us started. Cordero Patterson. Is he a guy that you would expect is going to be a keeper in 2022? I got to figure the Falcons are going to bring in some other running back there. And I don't know. I don't have a sense that Patterson's the kind of guy you can expect to have this type of crazy season all over again.
He's depends 30. On if they keep him. I mean, he's been like a one-year wonder on different teams.
Yeah, I don't know what his contract status is.
I would say this. I mean, he's 30. He's not a keeper for the Pats, but he could be on some other lineup on the cheap, or in some other team, but not on the Pats, not part of Pats keepers. So he's got too many good young players, like you outlined. But somewhere else, possibly us.
No, he's not a keeper. He shouldn't be.
All right, there we go. Quick and easy.
Yes.
Real quick before we'll talk Sponge and Impact, but just looking at the Sponge from last week, a guy who is peaking at the right time, Damian Harris, guys is actually having a really strong season. David Montgomery kind of coming back from injury at the right time. But Damian Harris with 3 touchdowns, 100 total yards last week. If he's putting up those kinds of numbers, especially with Aaron Jones maybe not scoring so much, he's been a real difference maker for the Sponge.
Mm-hmm. Packers get Minnesota this week, right? They get Minnesota. Green Bay plays Minnesota at home on Sunday night. That's a good showcase for the Packers. Minnesota is terrible in the secondary. Yeah. And at home, Sunday night, Rodgers playing in, end of his Green Bay career, perhaps. He's got more FU games in him. I could see him being huge.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers put up 35 at Minnesota. Beat 11.
Yep.
We've said it more than once this year. I know we said it last week heading into the game against the Fats. If Rodgers and Devontae Adams and to some extent Aaron Jones, if they do their thing, you tend to believe the Sponge are the team that's going to come out victorious. And do you think they're going to do it? We said last week we thought they would, and they came out, and it wasn't a monster game, but 21 points from Rodgers, 18 from Devontae Adams with 2 touchdown catches. Aaron Jones.
It was a monster game.
It was over 40 points among the 3 of those guys. That was a pretty good game.
Yeah, as I said in the report, with his 3 guys, all they needed was Harris and his 3 touchdowns, and that
then
was
you add one guy
points
like Harris. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's hard to match up. I think I said back in the before the playoffs started, when we were aiming for the playoffs, that I thought a few of us, maybe not just me, said the Sponge looked like the strongest team if they were made it to the playoffs, that they would
make the playoffs. Yeah. All right. For Hank's sake, we will not spend a lot of time talking about K-Wheels and Impact, maybe only just a few seconds. In fact, in part because there is not a lot. This was a really low-scoring playoff game.
A terrible game. Awful game. Yep. The K-Wheels have sucked for the last 3 weeks. We've put up no points, and we don't deserve to go further. Saquon Barkley is officially a fucking bust. The guy is a bust. He does not deliver in the clutch. He's 4 years into his career, and he's had 1 halfway decent season. Bust. That's where I'm at. I'm mad at my team. I wish they would have done better. They didn't. I hate this freaking game. It's about luck, and I have none of it. So I lost. Good job, Ralph. Way to go.
If somebody
both lose, and Chief was invited here tonight. Before I get done with my rant, Chief was invited here tonight and said, "No, I'm not interested." You're not interested, Chief? Yeah, well, go fuck yourself, dude. You're in the Pack Bowl. I hope you lose. And I can't say that because he's playing the Packers. I hate them both. I hope they tie and there's no tiebreaker and have to break the trophy in half. Screw both of you.
Well, where do we go from there?
I'm done now. I don't have anything else to say.
The news there is if somebody wants – go ahead, Rich.
I was just going to say the one thing is that the whole Barkley situation is tragic. It really is, because he is a fantastic talent that really has had tough injuries and really poor coaching, and the Giants just suck. Like the whole situation, I think John Mara would be rolling over in his grave based on how the Giants have performed over the last 2 seasons. And John Mara needs to just go off and do something else and get that team given to somebody else that can make something of it. Because Jones is not the quarterback there. That's the problem. And the coaching's been the problem in the carousel. And Barkley needs to be in a better situation in order to really leverage his talent. And hopefully, he seems like he's gotten back to health, but they're just not utilizing him very well. It's like Joe Mixon. He had to come over to the Lizards to actually become an MVP and go to the Pro Bowl and become a star. Had to take him away from the Senators, and he just needed better coaching. And that's exactly what Barkley needs now. So anyway, that being said, Phil, I feel for you, brother. Me putting up 33 the week before, I felt just like you do, is just pathetic. And it's a shame, injuries, bad luck, bad matchups. It's tough to swallow.
And the bad luck there, I kept telling Hank in the Washington football team game, I thought there was a legitimate chance. And, Antonio Gibson really only needed 40 more yards and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And the football team sucked so bad that there was no second half. There was no second half.
He didn't even play. And he scored in the first half, and we were on, and something was looking okay. And then they did nothing. They let up so many points.
It's and we were saying the same thing, because we were trying to cheer Phil up, I think, a little bit.
It wasn't that far off. He had 58 yards in the first half.
He wasn't that far off. And the thing that really, it even for the Killers this year, it reemphasized the fact for me that having great players on bad teams isn't equivalent to great players in great offenses or on great teams, and
even mediocre players in good situations on good teams.
Yes, and it's like there's just not as many opportunities, and at some point it does come back to bite you, and that is kind of the brilliance of what Chief has done with the sponge, is that team, the Packers, just keep throwing, they keep scoring, even more so than like Brady and the Bucs, because he's had his down moments, but they just put points up. Doesn't matter how much they're up, they keep throwing, they keep scoring, and it's a great offense. And he's got
except for the last 2 weeks. The last 2 weeks, Brady couldn't score anywhere.
No, I was talking about
in a whorehouse. He couldn't score.
Right, but it's such a critical thing, and it's you just look up and down like the teams, and man, you're like, well, that guy's not in a great offense. He's going to have, he's going to have some rough weeks because the offense doesn't fire that week, and it's a real thing that it makes a huge difference maker.
Yeah. So honestly, I thought the headline. What, Rich?
No, I was going to say I agree with exactly what you said. The one thing I would just add is that I can understand Chief not wanting to come on tonight because he doesn't want to jinx himself or talk about any of the games. So I have no issue with him not wanting to show up tonight.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
I thought the news in Hank's rant there, I think it's somewhat serious, is if somebody puts together a big package for Barkley, I think Hank's listening.
I'm listening.
And I tend to agree with Hank at this. I mean, I think Barkley has had enough time, and it's not so much Barkley as it is the Giants around him. But Barkley is also coming off injuries, has looked tentative. He to Berto's point, you do have to factor in the team around him. That offensive line is terrible. I don't know if Daniel Jones is really the answer. Barkley is a number 2 fantasy running back, maybe a number 3 fantasy running back until proven otherwise.
He doesn't score touchdowns. He doesn't get carries. Devontae Booker has outscored him. I mean, he's not that good.
For the right, I somebody else may see him differently, and Barkley's there for the taking, folks.
Definitely not talking about right now.
There could be something good there, relative to a move that Hank gets something good out of that, and he passes on Barkley and maybe does some good stuff. But the Giants need a lot of help.
Saquon Barkley is the back that everybody hopes they can get in the draft. I took him number 1 overall 4 years ago. He has played successfully in about 15 games for the K-Wheels, and it's depressing because he's right there and you think he's going to be good, and then you get into a game like this last week and he does nothing, and it's maddening. He should be doing more. And and Ralph, Ezekiel Elliott, 2 touchdowns, doing nothing. Yeah.
Well, that was a remarkable part too, right? You had 58 yards from Gibson in the first half. I don't think Elliott got to 50 yards. I think he was under 50 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns.
This is on an offense that scores 56 points. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, the whole thing just sucks. But like I said, the K-Wheels did not score enough points over the last 2 weeks. My team fell apart, and it sucks.
All right, let's move on to the game we need to be talking about. That's the Pack Bowl. Sponge Fishermen, Amsterdam Packers. Go pull up this matchup once again. Tell you what, let's get your trivia answer in. How about we do that before we pull this matchup back up? I'm looking for the number of players among the 7 core members of the Sponge Fishermen.
I know this isn't right, but I was struggling.
Rich, I can't really see yours.
Mine says 2, and it's Aaron Jones and Montgomery.
I might be way ahead.
I should be fact-checked on this, of course, but I believe Rich is correct. I believe the answer is 2. I believe those are the 2 players, Aaron Jones and David Montgomery. I can tell you for a fact, David Montgomery was a first-round pick, as Rich says.
Mm-hmm.
The number 2 overall pick in the 2019 or 2018 draft.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, Hank gets that. Aaron Jones, the impetus for this question, actually, I went looking to see where he got Aaron Jones. 8th round pick back in 2017.
Wow.
If we go through the rest of the Sponge lineup here real quick, Aaron Rodgers, I believe, came from the Slippery Beavers in a trade a couple of years ago for a 2nd rounder, I believe. We just said
I knew.
Did he not draft Cup? I know Cup was on the Fats. Did they trade him?
He got Cup last year from the Fats. He got Damian Harris
from me.
From the Lizards. Yep.
I traded him for a number 1 pick.
I think that was a 2nd rounder for Damian Harris.
Maybe it was a 2nd. I thought it was a combination that included something else. Maybe. Yeah, you may be right. I don't remember.
He obviously, gave up the 1st rounder to get Stephon Diggs, 1st rounder and more this year. Devontae Adams, if I'm correct, was a 3rd rounder that he gave to the Hormel Hams back in 2017. 3rd rounder for Devontae Adams. And then, as I mentioned, on his bench is Julio Jones, who I think he gave up a 1st for.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So he has given up an awful lot. The two guys he has drafted, David Montgomery and Aaron Jones.
Thanks. How many? So who was the running back? Who was the running back in Green Bay that Aaron Jones was behind that he ended up being picked up in the 8th? Because there had to have been somebody else in Aaron Jones.
James Starks has to have been part of that equation, maybe.
Yeah, it could be.
Edgar Bennett.
Edgar Bennett.
Amon Green.
I'll have to go back and
Amon
look
Green.
I think there was somebody else.
Oh, there was
between those guys. But
all right.
That's just it. There was who knows? We can't even come up with it. Besides
no idea.
Amon Green.
Because if he got him in the 8th, there was obviously a lead back in Green Bay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So
how many points do I get for that stick?
I got Montgomery first, and I got Jones, but in the wrong round.
I got one Montgomery.
I got Montgomery in the first, and then Jones wrong round.
But he gets 4. But he doesn't get.
I don't get any points for the number.
But you're going to get. Hank's going to get 4 points.
Mm-hmm. But Burke will get more because he got.
So that means I have 4 automatically.
Yep.
2, 3,
1 Montgomery.
4, 6 points for Rich.
There you go.
And any for you, Berto?
I had round 1 in Montgomery.
Okay. That's going to get you 3 points.
Okay.
All right, I'll tally this up in a bit. We don't need to dwell too much. Berto, I really am struck by that art. That's very impressive work.
Yeah, she did a great job on it. It was awesome.
Nice job. Does she take commissions?
What would you do? You want a portrait?
Maybe.
All right, we'll work that. I'll see what her price is.
See what her rates are.
Yeah.
They're steep.
I like
That
it.
was a Christmas gift. So.
If you're interested, Andrew, get all our kids' art going, right? Andrew is starting NFTs of his art. Follow Art by Andrew on Instagram.
Okay.
All right.
Does he have art that I can buy in non-NFT form?
Sure.
Good. Because I don't do NFT.
I don't know what an NFT is. I don't know how it works.
Let's not get into NFTs right now.
I don't know, it's a
We won't
token
get
of some
into
kind
that.
that
We
you
won't
can-
get into crypto tonight.
some kind
All
of
right.
fungible token up your ass.
So now that I've given you the answer, go ahead and pull up these lineups once again. Let's talk Ampac and Sponge. Rich, just to confirm, there are no home field advantage points here in the Pac Bowl.
That's correct.
That does mean we need reserve lineups.
That's a good point. We will need reserve lineups, Dick, and Chief and Ralph should send me those reserve lineups. I will send an email reminding them of such after the webcast.
I'd say the odds are not 100% that Ralph ends up submitting a reserve lineup.
Oh, he will.
He will.
I hope. As I mentioned, the Sponge are huge favorites in this game, according to com.com. Ralph has been doing this for several weeks now with, different quarterbacks, with Taysom Hill back in the lineup this week, coming off the COVID list. He's got both Vikings in his lineup. There are some red crosses over there on the Sponge Fisherman side, but again, that's a stacked lineup over there, and the com.com preview seems to reflect that 72% favorite for the Sponge Fisherman.
I'll go out on a limb and say I don't remember a more lopsided Pac Bowl preview.
20 points. It's a 20-point spread.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll say this. I mean, Ralph did an amazing job with this team late in the season. He made some great waiver picks. He, shuffled some guys in. I mean, it's Taysom Hill has been not extraordinary, but certainly acceptable, and has put up some points. And he needed him in a pinch. He's done a really good job getting this team to where it is. Right, a little, he went up against a couple teams. I didn't put points up against them the final week of the regular season. Phil didn't put up, a ton of points last week. But all that being said, it doesn't matter because he navigated this team to where it is right now. And he's done a good job with it.
Yeah,
Sure. Whatever you say, Berto. He's got a horseshoe up his ass. He's lucky to be where he is. He knows it. He knows his team isn't that good. And let's be honest, this game is not hard to analyze. The Sponge should beat the crap out of him. If everything goes right, they're going to win by at least 25. But you never know because, again, Ralph has a horseshoe up his ass. It could happen. It could win. But
now, listen, he made some good moves. He had a bunch of issues with this team, and he got this team there by hook or by crook. Listen, the Sponge are the better team. Their team is healthy now. They got everyone there. Yeah, they should kick their ass. And what I said before is I haven't seen a lopsided, preview or this much of an underdog in the Pac Bowl that I can remember. But it could happen, and maybe this is the week that a miracle happens. And then if that happens, I will say he has a horseshoe up his ass. But is there some luck involved? Of course, but he also made his own luck with what he did to get here too.
Luck is making the most of your opportunities. He traded for Thielen, right?
At some point he did.
He was on the Sponge, right?
He traded for Thielen. Yeah, I can't remember a team. Maybe the Sponge were the last ones who had 4 quarterbacks on their team, right? Does he have 3 quarterbacks? No, 4. 4 quarterbacks: Tannehill, Jones, Wilson, and Hill. Whew.
They've all played.
And they've all played, at some point or another. I'm surprised he didn't give up Jones for something else at some point to fill in another spot, because he did have an extra FA pick at the beginning of the season as well, and he did expend everything.
At the end of the season, there wasn't anything worth picking up anyway. I mean,
no, but fill-ins. I mean, look, you could have picked up a guy like Reynolds in Detroit for a game or two. I think the Fats picked him up. Amon St. Brown, Fats picked him up last week, and he didn't start him. He has to release him now, but so that wasn't like he could. I didn't understand. He picked him up and then he didn't play him. Maybe he was a backup for some reason. I don't know. That was interesting.
Maybe he was playing defense and preventing his opponent from getting him.
Sure.
That also could have been the case.
The truth about the AMPAC, I don't mean to knock a guy who's obviously in the Pac Bowl, but he has won his playoff games with scores of 56 and 54 points. So
luck plays a role who you're matched up against.
Yep.
But Ralph has had some COVID challenges, maybe greater than some other teams. He had, Taysom Hill, Tyreek Hill just came back off of the COVID list. The Vikings running backs, but 56 and 54 points is the bottom line. This team is not scoring a ton of points right now.
Right. I mean, and it's good on him. He picked up Madison to back up Cook, and that worked out really well. Losing Fournette, not an easy thing, right?
But even stuff like that, right? He's stuck with Fournette. Who, he stayed the course with Fournette. He's navigated what by anyone could say is a really a down year for Tyreek Hill by anyone's measure.
Yeah.
He had Madison on the team. Russell Wilson got hurt, and he has navigated his way around that. So he made some good moves to do it. Yeah. Is there an element of luck in this? For sure. But if we're going to boil this whole thing down to luck, let's all go play roulette and just put our money on the table and say that that's what it is.
Not saying it's luck.
Not. Yes, he's had some luck, but he had a bunch of good moves here too.
There you go. Maybe next year we in honor of John Madden, we all RIP John Madden. We all pick a team in Madden and we do simulation and just put our money down and see who wins.
There you go. To get the facts straight here, and I think Hank is right in saying that Tyreek Hill is having a down year. Year to date, 104 catches, 1,197 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Probably is a down year if I were to go back and look at his previous few years. But
how front loaded is that too? I mean, I think he had a couple of 3 touchdown games or one at least up front.
Yeah, he had a couple big
games.
If
you remember, Kansas City wasn't that good at the beginning of the year. They had a lot of challenges.
Their
Maybe more on defense than they did on offense.
Defense was great.
So,
but Berto, you're right about sort of hanging on with Fournette.
Yeah,
we've been looking at this AMPAC team for 5 years now. Ever since they had some historically bad seasons, you may recall, kept earning all these number 1 draft picks, have not cashed them in the form of a title yet. Again, we're talking Zeke Elliott, we're talking Dalvin Cook, Melvin Gordon was, I think, the first of them way back. A Fournette, plus some very good receivers in here as well. Keenan Allen, Tyreek Hill, trading a first-round pick to get Russell Wilson. We've talked about this franchise has their Pac Bowl window closed, and I'm a little surprised to see them here this year, given the additional challenges they've had this year.
Yep.
But this, again, this is a team that window we know hasn't closed. They still have, Zeke and Fournette and Dalvin Cook. The guys they've been trying to get to this title game with for years, and they're finally here.
Yeah, and there's 2 ways you win a Pac Bowl.
You don't want to make.
There's 2 ways you win a Pac Bowl. You either have an unbelievable bulletproof team like the Sponge who runs through everyone, or you scrap along. You're scrappy and you get there, and then he's got a big week this week, and
anything could happen.
Anything can happen. He navigated this team there, and the whole Russell Wilson thing is another huge one that navigated through that injury, and he pieced it together between Tannehill, who I don't know how many games Tannehill started for him, and then Taysom Hill, and it worked.
Yeah, and I covered it in the commissioner report in the last 2 weeks, but depth has been key for both teams. Being ingenuitive for one, having depth for the other, but COVID could rear its head any moment for either of these teams, and they need to scramble. And injuries happen, and I've had players play, 2 drives and then be out the rest of the game. Shit happens, and it sucks when it does. But that's why anything can happen, and that's why they play. You got to play the game, right? So we'll see what happens here. But 20 points is a big spread. The Sponge do look bulletproof. It is a very, when you look at up and down that lineup, everyone on that team has pretty high floors as it relates to points.
And high ceilings.
I think
Wait until the Vikings show up, man. The Vikings defense is going to shut down Green Bay, piss off Rodgers, stifle Jones. Adams will be out of his mind, and he'll get nothing out of him.
Maybe.
And then Ralph will get Cook and Madison running roughshod all over him. Be glorious. But then I'm cheering.
Zimmer's going to send somebody to bite Rodgers' toe. That's what's going to happen. Zimmer's going to send somebody out to bite Rodgers' toe off.
Oh, he'll screw it up. Don't worry.
I really think 80 is kind of a low number for the Sponge. I'll be honest, because Packers are going to put up points. Man, they're playing at home. Rodgers kicked their ass last time. Their secondary is not good. They're going to put up a bunch of points. Harris is going against Jacksonville.
Right.
He's going to get some points. Montgomery against the Giants.
Well, and
it also depends on if
Cooper Kupp against Baltimore. I mean, Joe Burrow. They had 3 receivers in Cincinnati over 100 yards. Kupp is going to go nuts. This could be another hundo for the Sponge easily.
Yeah, it could.
And kind of a small detail here, but most of the Sponge players are playing at home this week, and I think the majority of the Impact players are on the road. It all just looks like it's favoring the Sponge for a fairly easy win here this week.
Chief has done an awesome, and we've said this before, and I've said it. Chief has done an amazing job with this team, bar none.
The trades were phenomenal.
When he did that Diggs trade, I'm like, oh my fucking God, that was awesome. Why didn't I pester Nick more? I'm like, that was a great trade. And yeah, Elijah Mitchell is banged up, and maybe he wouldn't even make the starting lineup if he was. Well, no, I guess he's healthy again, right? Anyway, he's not in the lineup.
No, he's kind of working to get healthy.
Because he doesn't need him this week, but he had some good weeks, and Diggs has been great. And this goes back to what we were talking about before. All of these guys, with the exception, I guess you could say, of David Montgomery, are on high-powered offenses. Or, all right, Damian Harris is a question mark in that space too, but at least they know how to use him.
Yeah.
But the other guys, at least the other 5 guys are, man, it's just points and points and points. And the team, the way it's constructed, the best wide receiving core maybe ever, probably. It's a great team.
I specifically, you didn't even mention this, and the one acquisition I really do want to go back to, because you didn't mention it now, and I don't think we've talked about it as much as we should have over the last 3 years. Aaron Rodgers. He delivered the Sponge a Pac Bowl title in 2019. He's poised to do it again. I think he cost them a 2nd-round pick from the Beavers.
Yeah.
And
fucking great.
That
was during a season he was streaming quarterbacks, wasn't it? Before that,
I think so. And it was one of those seasons where Bill gave up on the season very early. Said he was rebuilding. Gave up on Rodgers, I think, probably prematurely. Wouldn't the Beavers love to have Rodgers? They wouldn't obviously, I think, have Najee Harris in that scenario, but I think the Beavers would be a better team these days with Aaron Rodgers at the top. Bill, if you're watching, I wonder if you regret that trade.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Fuck Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a douchebag. Screw that guy.
Hank went out and got Brady for what, a fifth this year?
Yeah.
Overpaid.
So there's a formula there.
In the end, you did.
Overpaid. Whatever I paid, it wasn't worth it.
No, he was great for you until he wasn't. But
till it mattered.
Well,
he didn't have anybody to throw to
until he lost.
He was great right up until it mattered.
Once you lost. No, but the problem is you can have your quarterback have a few off weeks, but you need somebody else to step up. And without Henry in there or Saquon showing up, that's where you've struggled.
What did
you needed somebody else. Look at Fats. Fats had Kelsey step up one game in the season that blew it all away, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's out again, right?
Yep.
But that one game he showed up made all the difference.
Sure did. No, I'm just bitter. I spent a lot of time building my team to be really good, and I think I have a really good team on paper, and they fucking sucked this week. They sucked.
I know that feeling. Yeah.
And screw them. And it's unjust. It's not fair. I hope both Ralph and Chief lose and are miserable all week.
Well,
screw you guys.
Phil's not prepared.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
The Brady discussion. Yeah. We'll shelf that one. But
we have lots of. I've already been taking all sorts of notes for off-season questions we can talk about after the Pac Bowl, but that's where we're focused for now.
Yeah, Brady's not a keeper. If he's not a keeper for the K-Wheels. If somebody wants Brady, come talk to me.
Brady,
we'll talk to me. We'll talk Saquon Barkley. We'll put them both together in a nice little package.
Predictions.
There you go. You might have some takers on that.
Predictions.
You want to give some score predictions? I think we've all said. Yeah, go ahead, Berto.
104 Sponge to 61 Ampac.
Wow.
Let's see. I'm going to need a minute to analyze this. Let's see.
Chief's going to have 82 and Ralph's going to have 50. 82 to 50.
I'm going to go 94 for the Sponge, 58 for the Pack. And the Sponge take it.
118 to 70.
Wow.
That's a big number. All right. Write them down. We'll see who's good and we'll look at it next week.
All right. Good luck to both of these teams. Good luck to everybody around the TFFL. Even if you're not playing in the Pac Bowl, at least you were rooting for your players not to suffer an injury in these meaningless, for us, final 2 weeks. Who did we lose? I should have checked injuries before we came on. I feel like somebody did lose somebody big. Berto, give me an injury update.
Thielen's out now.
Thielen is no. I think
that was a big loss.
Right?
No, Thielen's out. He has surgery. He's done for the year.
Okay, and Fournette's out, of course.
Miles Sanders with his broken hand, but no, there was a fairly significant injury, I thought.
You mean outside of the
You're talking about in this game?
No, outside of the Pac Bowl. But, just again, in these meaningless last couple of games, none of us want to have somebody go down that may not be ready at the start of next season.
Yeah, Thielen's out.
Well, we saw the big one was for the Mongols in Henderson. He's done, but Cam Akers is supposedly coming back.
Cam Akers is a very interesting story.
But I think Henderson's done for the year, and he has an ACL. So that could be a challenge for coming back in the next season.
Did Henderson really suffer an ACL injury?
Yeah,
just an MCL sprain. It looks like.
Oh, okay, maybe that was it.
Yeah, I thought there was somebody else.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, maybe.
Maybe. I'm sorry. We will not dwell on this.
I think Helaire got hurt as well.
Yeah, there was a few smaller injuries. I do feel like I'm missing a bigger one, but obviously that's the hope for everybody. Even if you're not playing in the Pac Bowl, let's all stay healthy. Start getting excited about our players heading into next season. Not worry about them. Enjoy the New Year's, everybody. Happy New Year's. Let's hope 2022 is finally the year we're on an upswing. Get past this latest variant and move on with the world. That's what I got. Happy holidays, everybody. Good luck to our 2 Pac Bowl teams. Hopefully this is a closer game than we're all speculating. The Sponge have got a really strong lineup. They're going to score points. Ralph has gotten to this point for a reason. His team can score points. Let's hope we have a great game. Take care, everybody. Happy New Year. We'll see you here next week. Rich, you're not off the hook quite yet. We'll have you back to wrap things up and talk about 2022 ahead. Take care.
Excellent. Good luck, everyone. Take care, gents. Happy New Year.
Hey, boys, good luck.
Happy New Year.